Welcome to this week's episode of Beyond the Script. My name is Nikki. I am your host. And today I want to talk about how nostalgia and having a hard time evolving is basically going to get you left behind, okay? We are living in a time where if you don't evolve, you will get left behind. And one of the things that I see keeping people stuck right now is nostalgia. So I want to jump into that a little bit today and just get everybody moving in the right direction. So there are different layers of nostalgia, right? We have been hearing since COVID, like when things go back to normal, when things go back to normal. And if we're being honest, nothing has been the same post 2020. Nothing has been the same post COVID. Everything has changed. Everything is continuing to change, and everything will continue to change. And I find that a lot of people are having nostalgia for how work used to be, right? We hear conversations about, well, back in my day, you would maintain the same job, you would be rewarded, you would XYZ, right? Nostalgia for stable careers, nostalgia for predictable income, for the paycheck cycle. I've talked about the paycheck dependency cycle in previous episodes. If you haven't heard that one, go back and listen to that one. Nostalgia for someone else being responsible for your livelihood, right? We have nostalgia for simplicity, and I find that very ironic because we miss the simplicity of clocking in, going to work, getting paid, clocking out, right? And it being enough to maintain like a family and a household and all of these things. And the irony is we call that simple. But what's actually simple when you allow it to be simple is doing things for yourself, not being dependent on others, being self-resourced. Okay. So, like I said, the world has changed and opportunity has changed. And yet there are still many people mentally living in 2012. And I would even argue 2020. Okay. So this is not fear based. This is not any of that. This is just what has been on my mind recently. So the thing with nostalgia is it often feels comforting, but it's keeping you stagnant. Like I said, people want things to go back to normal. They want companies to stabilize. They want the economy to feel safe again. I don't know about you, but the economy has not felt safe basically my entire adulthood. Right? Like there have always been the housing market first crashed when I was like in high school. And then ever since then, like I have not known economic stability. And so I think there's a better chance of us recognizing that and using it to our advantage versus waiting for external sources, external things to come and fix it. One of the things that is just real is at the end of the day, in order to be here in the States, we have to make more money. That's it. Okay, we can go in and try to listen to all of the false promises and things like that. But at the end of the day, we're just going to have to make more money. The world is not going to go backwards. It's only moving forward. I personally have not seen prices come down when it like renting prices and things like that. And I'm not trying to make this an economic episode. I don't want to get into economics. I am not great with that stuff, right? Like there's not something that I want to debate on. But what I can tell you is different changes that are coming that are here to stay is going to be AI. AI changes are here. Layoffs are happening across industries. That has not stopped for a while. Okay. I know from people that are searching for jobs, the job market is challenging. So I've heard, right? There's different contract that's replacing full-time work. Contractors are I don't want to call them a new thing, but contractors are something, are an income source, and it is saves the company money. Okay. One thing that's becoming normal now that I think is really cool is multiple income streams are becoming normal. You used to really hear that about like millionaires and billionaires and things like that they need multiple income streams. But I'm noticing that to be really more leveled out on the lower end of the scale, if you will. Everybody is starting to normalize, or everybody that I talk to is starting to normalize multiple income streams. Creator economy and digital economy, those are here to stay. Those are not going anywhere. Okay. And it's not about being the most talented in order to thrive in this economy, in the creator economy, in the digital economy. What it really comes down to is recognizing that things are not going to go back and allowing yourself to be adaptable, allowing yourself to say, hey, It's never going to be the way it was. And I'm just going to keep moving forward because that's all I can do, right? The honest truth is some people are going to get left behind. And I'm not even trying to say that harshly. It's just a fact. Okay. People get left behind when they refuse to learn new skills. So if you're sitting here like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and you're not evolving, you're not learning new skills, you will get left behind. When you're only depending on one income source, unless you have like a great career going for you, one income source is just not cutting it for a lot of people. Okay. Over identifying with the job title is another thing that can potentially get you left behind. Waiting for permission to move, that is a big one. That is a big one. If you are constantly looking for reassurance from your friends, your family, your peers, your mentors, something like that, you are definitely going to get left behind because they can't give it to you. I mean, they can, but if you can't move without it, then what are we doing? Staying attached to how it used to work, okay? Oh, but it used to work like this, it used to work like that. That moment is gone. The moment doesn't exist anymore, okay? If your entire identity and security is tied to how it used to be or one paycheck or anything, that is not security. That is absolutely dependency. So, Nikki, what does it mean to be self resourced then? Being able to be self resourced is to generate income from skills or experiences. This is exactly what I teach, taking your skills and experience and turning it into digital offers, getting it into the digital economy, creating a sales process that allows you to thrive in the creator economy, okay? The ability to pivot if needed. And I'll say this, entrepreneurship does not mean you're not going to pivot, okay? TikTok has completely, and I'm not on TikTok Shop. This is what I've heard, through peers who use TikTok Shop. TikTok, for example, which entrepreneurs were using to sell their, use TikTok Shop, make affiliate commissions, maybe sell their own stuff or do drop shipping through there. They have completely changed and restructured everything. These people have to pivot fast, expeditiously, 30 days, right? So that's not to say like there's security in going the entrepreneur route. That's not what I'm implying at all. But if you want to be self-resourced and you want to be able to generate your own income, you also have to be able to pivot when necessary. You have to be able to lead yourself without waiting. The people in your life are not going to give you permission. The people in your life are not going to tell you, yeah, you could do this. You should do this. Actually, I think you should do. Their majority of them are not going to do this, especially if you're the first one breaking out of the system, out of the programming, whatever you want to call it. If you're the first one coming out of it, other people are not going to see what you see. They're not going to see it clearly. You're going to have to just do it, okay? And you're going to have to be able to be self-led for that. And then you're going to find your tribe who will support you in that. And that's a whole other conversation, okay? The ability to create opportunities instead of waiting for them. When I was door knocking, actually, no, that's a good example. When I was door knocking, like, that was one thing that they'd say all the time is you have to go out and create the opportunity. Well, how do you create the opportunity? You have to go knock on the door. The businesses, the owners, they weren't going to come to me and say, hey, I need this. I had to go create those opportunities to hit quota, right? It's the same thing in sports. Wayne Gretzky said it. Like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Valid. He has to create the opportunity. Everywhere you are, you have to create the opportunity. People who are not creating new opportunities every single day are the ones that are recognizing, hey, life is kind of getting away from me. Life is passing me by. What opportunity have you created for yourself today? What opportunity have you generated? What have you gone out and done differently, right? Or on the flip side, what have you done that's exactly the same, that's boring but works? That's another problem. We don't like to be bored. And a lot of business building and being self-resourced is boring. It's repetition. You are repeating the process over and over, okay? Now, bringing it back to using your experience and being able to generate income from that, I will say this. Every single person has a monetizable skill or experience, even if you don't believe it yet, okay? You have either a corporate experience, a job experience, a life experience, skills that you learn through either survival, motherhood, leadership, some type of moment in your life. And you have knowledge that people would pay to learn faster if you just embody the fact that you know what you're talking about and that you are the authority in it. Okay. And so I'm not saying like run out and quit your job today or become an influencer or you need to go viral for this to happen. No, all you need is awareness of what you know, the willingness to package it, and then the courage to lead yourself. You have to stop being nostalgic about what happened then, about what we had then, because this is where we are today in 2026 is things are moving rapidly, okay? Things are moving quickly. And so if you're going to be nostalgic about anything, be nostalgic about an experience you had and be like, I want to relive that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn around and teach it. If that's how you want to be, if you want to use it, like, Nikki, but I like to reminisce. Okay, reminisce in a way where you can get paid. Okay. So let's start to look at the shifts for what it actually is inside of this, what I'll call the self-leadership era. So the old model is the company leads you, the school trains you, the employees follow, and income comes from one place. That model still exists, but again, it's not as secure as it used to be, right? The newer model right now is that the individual leads, the individual learns, the individual adapts, and income can come from many places. You can take one experience and turn it into multiple streams of income just by diversifying your offer suite, by creating a digital hierarchy, if you will, okay? We are entering the era of self-led individuals, not company-led individuals. And for a lot of people, that is scary because especially the older you get, the reason it gets so intimidating to some people is it debunks some of the oldest belief systems that we've been instilled with, right? A lot of us grew up, and from the time we were babies, we watched one, if not both of our parents go to work, make money, pay the bills that way, right? We were taught go to school, continue school, get a higher education, and use that to go and land a good job. And if you're a millennial like myself, then you obviously know that somewhere along the lines all of that got disconnected. It became untrue. But see, the belief is still instilled in us. And that's the part that people have a hard time escaping from, and that's why nostalgia is so like sexy to look at or is so sought after, is because they're looking at a time that is going to reinforce the beliefs in your mind, right? You're looking at the nostalgic time because it reinforces the beliefs of this is how it was supposed to be. But we have to look at reality. That is just not how it is. It's just not what it is. And we have to adapt to that, okay, without waiting for permission. The thing of it is, millennials especially were told that like if you did this it was almost like the future was guaranteed, right? But the reality is nobody is actually coming to guarantee your future, not a company, not an economy, not the system, nothing. Okay. And in a way this is actually very powerful for those of you who always wanted to rebel against something. Like, this is a great time because now you can learn, you can adapt, you can create, and you can evolve. Okay. But you cannot stay in comfort. You cannot stay in stagnation. You cannot stay reminiscing about 2010. It's all gone. Okay. So, with that, in this episode, I want you to think for a moment. And I want you to ask yourself, where are you clinging to the past if you are? What are you waiting for? Or I'm sorry, where are you waiting? What are you waiting for and where are you waiting? You can answer both of those. Where are you waiting instead of building? And if the answer is that you are waiting, then what are you waiting for? Where are you allowing yourself to lead? And if you're not allowing yourself to lead, why not? Okay? And where could you start becoming self-resourced? Where can you start generating income? I'll give you a hint. The first place I could tell you was online. But you have to get out of your own head. You have to get out of your own little bubble. Get onto the internet bubble. Build a community of people who need what you have. Build a community of people who are looking for answers to an experience that you have already come out of. That's really what it comes down to. And you have to train yourself to be okay to speak about it, to be the authority in it. Excuse me. Okay? The thing of it is you can either evolve on purpose, which right now it's still a good time to just start evolving on purpose, or you're going to be forced to evolve later. And that's going to be 10 times harder because you're going to be very resistant, more resistant than right now if you wait to evolve later. It's better to just get ahead of the curve. It's better to prepare, and then maybe you prove me wrong and everything does go back to how it was. And you're like, "Hey Nikki, remember that podcast you did? Yeah, that was a load of crap. everything's back to normal, right? Maybe that is what happens. And if it does, you can call me out. That's fine. But I would rather you be prepared and evolving now and starting to think of different income streams and different ways of showing up in the world and all of these things and being ready for this life to be the new normal versus waiting for something that may never come. Okay? So, with that, that is today's episode of Beyond the Script. If you want a place to start, if you want to start becoming self-resourced and you're like, I think I just want to start figuring out what I can do to turn my life into a digital offer or to turn a chapter in my life into a digital offer, I am going to link my free worksheet. It is how to uncover the sellable story or the sellable experience in your life. I will put that in the show notes. You can grab that. You can fill it out. And then from there, if you want to take it further, you can send me a DM. My username across all channels is at Nikki Lynn Mayo. You can also browse on my Stan store, and there are both self-led options, and they're all self-led options. Let me be clear. There's DIY self-led options, and then there's I can guide you self-led options to really build your digital business hierarchy. So, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Beyond the Script, and I will see you all next week.